Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Days. I've got my notes here for Raw this week, and it was a big Raw. Really enjoyed it. They've set up a lot for the future. We're going to need to go straight into it, but I just want to do a couple of shout outs first. Extreme Experience, World Wrestling Stop Motion, and Team AJ Styles. You guys, I know you comment on a lot of videos, you watch a lot of videos, you're a big supporter of the channel, really appreciate it, so thank you to you three. But also, you know, to all of you guys, really do appreciate the support. Just worth saying before we get into it. As well, you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook now at Wrestling Days UK, so really would appreciate it if you want to drop any comments over there, or obviously in the comments below. So, Raw this week starts off with a Battle Royal, which was a nice change, no promo or food fight. So, Apollo Crews was the only person to get an entrance, which I thought was quite interesting. Baron Corbin didn't get an entrance, Darren Young didn't get an entrance, Dolph Ziggler didn't get an entrance, and so I didn't know if they'd done that on purpose to kind of highlight Apollo Crews, or if we just caught it at the moment that he was coming out. Clearly they're trying to push him, and I just thought it was interesting that he kind of opened Raw in a way. And Battle Royal was fine. It was obviously announced that by The Miz, who was on commentary, that the winner of this would go on to face him at Battleground. I think as soon as they said that, my favourite was Darren Young because of all the promos and everything. I would have freaked as well, by the way, if I was there, because Bob Backlund was ringside. Bob Backlund, again, some of you might not know, but the second longest reigning WWF champion of all time, an absolute technician, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Narrowly missed out on being in my top 5 most important wrestlers as well, because he really helped transition the business from Bruno Sammartino era into the Hulk Hogan era, and then came back in the 90s and had a fantastic feud against the likes of Bret the Hitman Hart. So anyway, we're not going to dwell too much on Bob Backlund, but he was on Raw this week. He is also on SmackDown on Miz TV along with Darren Young on Thursday. Reason being, Darren Young emerges victorious from this. Just a couple of other things that I want to point out. There was an awful lot of tag teams in this. The Usos, the Ascension, the Vaudevillains, the Dudley Boys, Golden Truth. Kind of felt like they were a bit light of talent. I don't know if there was another show on, but it's a bit scraping the barrel when you've got to just put a load of tag teams into a Battle Royal. And the final 4, Crews, Corbin, Young, and Ziggler. Again, you know, as soon as I saw that Young was in this, all the promos and everything, kind of knew he was going to be the one to emerge victorious. Really pleased. It was a fantastic moment. Backlund has absolutely done it. He has made Darren Young great again. Soon as it, you know, Young kind of won, he didn't win in like any kind of heroic fashion. I think it was Crews and Corbin eliminated each other. It was just left Darren Young in the ring, so it wasn't like heroic. But crowd were chanting Darren Young. Bob Backlund comes in, picks him up. It's like one of those big moments. And this is just for a chance to face The Miz for the Intercontinental title. If they play this right, they could have something here. I've been into the promos. I've enjoyed them. I love Bob Backlund in the mix. I think this is a right step forward. I'm on board. What was cool as well, straight after they said that the boss was on his way. It's like, what? So what's gone on with Sasha? But they were obviously talking, the commentary team were talking about Vince, and it was announced we were going to find out tonight who is going to be the general manager of SmackDown. Turns out that is the commissioner of SmackDown. And it was announced that Vince would be on the show later along with Shane and Steph. Great little backstage segment as well with Steph. She was talking to Shane. She's like, "Oh, did you see the boys this week?" Shane was like, "Yeah, I did." "Oh, did you tell them that I said hello?" No. I just loved it. I prefer those kind of backstage segments to when they're doing it in the ring. It kind of feels more natural. You know, why would you go to the traipse out to the ring, say a few words, get, you know, someone comes out, and then you go back again? Just do it out back. It's quicker. It's quicker. You can get to the point. We can get back to, you know, storyline development, things like that, rather than just watching a million entrances every single Raw. There was a recap then of UFC 200. Obviously, Brock emerging victorious in that, and they were talking about his next opponent being Randy Orton. At SummerSlam, Randy Orton is going to be interviewed by Jericho on a highlight reel at Battleground, which should be fascinating. Orton's obviously been out of the picture for a long time. I just don't see how Orton even gets close to Lesnar. Lesnar, he's just got this massive victory. They can really milk that financially. Orton doesn't stand a chance, but it'll be really interesting to see what he's got to say at Battleground. First match of the night was Zack Ryder against Sheamus. This was nothing but storyline development. Nice little backstage segment where Sheamus beats up Ryder just before this match. Gives this kind of nothing match a little bit more intrigue. There's a little kind of rivalry going between Ryder and Sheamus anyway, and that was pointed out on the commentary. Sheamus picks up the victory anyway, and out comes Rusev. Rusev comes out and starts beating up on Ryder, just screaming, "I accept your challenge! I accept your challenge!" So, yeah, Zack Ryder's the next to be fed to Rusev by the looks of things. Sheamus might get involved in there somewhere. Maybe this ultimately leads to a Ryder-Sheamus kind of pay-per-view match. They're going to need these competitors for the brand split. They need Riders and they need Breezango and all that. That's why you're seeing them more on Raw, being used more, because as of next week they might have to start playing an even bigger role on SmackDown or Raw. Talking to Breezango, they were up next. They went up against the Lucha Dragons, and I am really into Breezango. I do not want them to get split up. I wasn't at the start. I thought that this was a dead end thing for them. I thought it was only being put together so they could face the Golden Truth. But I like their backstage segments. I think it was Fandango that said Lucha is Spanish for disgusting mole people. And the way he said it, and he was laughing with Tyler, I think it was like Sin Cara turned around and went, "You do know we can understand you, yeah?" And it's great little moments like that. In the ring, they're solid. It's not like watching a botch fest or anything. And this was an alright match, second rope springboard moonsault from Sin Cara, and then shortly after that Kalisto tries to do it. He does botch it, but then, he's a pro and he just gets back up, then hits it. But a victory for Breezango. Breezango, I think it was Tyler Breeze, kicks Kalisto in the stomach, kind of slams him down to the mat. 1, 2, 3. Big win for Breezango. I would hate to see them get split up. I think they could achieve something. Maybe get like a title shot. I don't see them being champions or anything like that. But yeah, I don't. Equally, if they're booked all right, there's no need for them to be jobbers either. They could be the New Day on the other roster. Then we had the Rollins report. Seth frickin' Rollins said he's got some footage to show us, and it was this cut together interview with Roman Reigns, and it was done really well. It was a fun segment. Rollins was saying stuff like, "You are a monster, aren't you?" and you had like Reigns kind of smiling back and everything. Ambrose interrupts anyway and says, he's glad to see that Seth's having a bit of fun at last. But then they cut this fantastic promo on each other. End result being Ambrose challenging Seth to a match. Seth goes, "We're not going to do it here and now. We'll do it next week for the WWE Championship." And then it gets confirmed. Next week there is on Raw. And in fact they mention it later. They say before the draft will be the war. Ambrose versus Seth for the WWE Championship on next week's Raw. It's must-see, isn't it? It's must-see. We are getting some huge matches at the moment. I mean, as you're watching this, it's Tuesday, so that means that tomorrow we're going to get Nakamura against Balor. We're going to get the start of the Cruiserweight Classic. And then next Monday we get a WWE title match on Raw. It's a fantastic time to be watching wrestling. It's all kicking off. So really good segment. After that we had the Kevin Owens, Cesaro, Sami Zayn segment. Sami Zayn came down onto commentary. Owens' music's hit. Owens doesn't come out. We go backstage. We see Owens kicking off saying he's not going out there while Zayn's on commentary. So they remove Zayn from commentary. Owens comes out. has a really great match against Cesaro. Loads of stuff going on. Like there's a lot of action in ring, out ring. There's a springboard spinning uppercut from Cesaro, built nicely. KO picks up the victory after what felt like a decent length match. Picks up the victory with a net breaker. It wasn't a pop-up powerbomb. And then Sammy comes flying through the crowd. Big beat up. This is obviously leading towards their match at Battleground. And KO basically gets thrown into the ring. Cesaro delivers a swing. And yeah, it's building nicely. The feud's still ongoing. KO is always joy to watch, entertaining. And I thought I was worried about this segment because the match felt a bit slow to start, but it built nicely. It was, again, another good segment. Backstage, we see Styles and the club saying that they're going to, Cena's not here, they're going to have to get on a flight. They're going to have to go to the, is it the ESPYs? I don't even know what that is, but they're going to have to go to the ESPYs, which is an awards ceremony that John Cena is going to be hosting. They're going to have to find John Cena and then they'll beat up John Cena. And that has been trending all week. I fully expect it to continue trending, that hashtag beat up John Cena. But they planted the seeds beautifully that Cena wasn't there. Next match, we get Heath Slater against Titus O'Neil. This is probably the lowest point of Raw. Byron Saxton did a really good job of reminding us about Slater Gator. I completely forgot these two had been in a tag team. But Clash of Titus for Titus O'Neil gets him the victory in what was largely a forgettable kind of segment. Next, though, was not a forgettable segment. We had the Wyatts New Day. So the New Day go to the Wyatts compound. This kind of had a final deletion feel to it, but was done much better. I can't say that the end result was better because the final deletion on TNA I thought was, for what it was, fun. This was dark. I've put that it was hard to watch at the start because of the angles and the camera and how dark it all was, and it kept cutting and you couldn't see who was beating up who or what was happening. And it had a short fight and then it cut to like Xavier standing by a tree looking out for someone. It turned out to be Bray. Bray jumps out, starts beating up on Xavier Woods, drags him back to the fight. Cars getting smashed, objects getting thrown. As I said, it wasn't cheesy in the slightest. The editing was quite impressive, actually. Bray going, "Where's your power of positivity now?" Loads of fireflies appear, cars pull up, there's people in sheet masks. You know, kind of New Day grab each other and kind of just standing there, and that's how it all finishes. So it was this battle, it was this well-edited piece, but it was largely irrelevant. You know, I honestly thought Bray was going to steal Xavier and take him away and there would be some kind of storyline development. Unfortunately, the bottom line is, if you missed this segment, you didn't miss anything. You didn't miss anything. All you missed was the New Day struggling to overcome the Wyatt family on their own ground. So disappointing. I've got to go with disappointing because I thought the piece was done really well, but ultimately it can't be that irrelevant. You can't miss it and it not make any difference to the storyline. So yeah, bit flat for me. Then we had Styles and the club against Enzo and Big Cass. Enzo saying that the club had no backbone, they were basically chicken tenders, which I enjoyed. Styles interferes in the match, which causes a DQ. They're all about to beat up on Enzo, and then out comes John Cena. Cena's music hits. The crowd go crazy. Big Cena chant. Not a "let's go Cena, Cena sucks." Just a big Cena chant. I think that they planted the seeds really well that Cena wasn't there. And when the music hits and he comes running down, it is a bit of a moment. As crazy as it sounds, it's John Cena who we see each week. But they did a great job of kind of swerving us on it. And he comes down and saves Enzo, who is you know, one of the biggest fan favourites at the moment. So of course he was going to get a great reaction. The Cruiserweight Classic and that Balor Nakamura match get a mention, and then we go into the women's match. Dana Brooke against Sasha. This was a really good match, but I don't know, there wasn't a great deal to it. There was a nice crossbody from Sasha, bank statement, submission for the victory. Charlotte says she's going to have to face Dana again on SmackDown if she wants to get a championship opportunity. So we basically get the match again. I suppose the fact that this was irrelevant again kind of marks it down. There was a lot of moments. I mean, they've set up, another match on SmackDown, and they're building things, but there was just a few bits here that were just irrelevant, as we said. Vince then comes out, and we get the final part of Raw, which is we're going to decide who is going to run SmackDown Live and who is going to run Raw. Vince comes out and says that he's really disappointed. He says that Steph is sickly sweet. Who is this person? He says, who the hell do you think you are? Steph interrupts and goes, I'm your daughter. Let's ask the crowd if they think I'm sickly sweet. Do you think I'm sickly sweet? And everyone starts booing and everything. And you could tell that they were just doing this on the fly. It wasn't as smooth. It didn't feel rehearsed. They were just interrupting, stepping over each other. And it was fine. It was all right. But, he turned his attention to Shane then and goes, you lost your match. You shouldn't even be here. I've only let you stay because of that, fall off the top of the Hell in the Cell and how impressive it was, the reaction that you got. And Shane says that he wants to thank Detroit, says that he really wants to represent change. Basically, Vince says he doesn't care about the crowd's reaction to him, and asks for a drum roll whilst he makes his decision. Vince does add that he's looking for ruthless aggression, he's looking for competition, and takes a moment, and I honestly thought at this point Vince was going to announce himself as the new SmackDown kind of commissioner, but he doesn't. He announces Shane. Shane runs around the ring really excited. Steph looks really dejected, and then Vince drops the bomb, which wasn't a very big bomb, but drops the bomb that Shane won't be part of Raw, and Steph will be running the flagship, the 3-hour juggernaut that is Raw. So maybe because Steph's running that, it means Triple H will still be in the picture. I think Triple H very much is going to be looking after NXT, looking for bright new stars, travelling the globe like what he has been. He was at Download Festival and then he went over to China. I can see Steph versus Shane with a Triple H NXT invasion, which I think could be absolutely fascinating. Triple H has obviously been kept off TV quite a while, and so you've got to think he's going to play a part over these next few weeks somehow. But yeah, so Steph's going to be running Raw, Shane's going to be running SmackDown. Vince says, let the games begin. And then did drop a bombshell that next week on Raw, both Steph and Shane are going to have to choose GMs. Was not expecting that, but there will be general managers for each brand. Anyone is in the picture for that. I don't think they bring back some of the ones we've already seen. I think they'll go in a fresh direction, but might get Daniel Bryan. That's not a bad call, But we'll have to see. What comes of that. But that was a real interesting development. And then the closing to Raw I really enjoyed. Steph says that she'll bury Shane because, Vince wants competition on merchandise, on ratings, on pay-per-view buy-ins. And so Steph says she'll bury Shane on all of those. Shane says that Steph's scared. He's seen that look in her eyes before. She's scared. They both know that what's up for grabs are, in Vince's words, the keys to the kingdom. Whoever can impress the most will get WWE ultimately. So there is a real prize for them to compete over, which I think is brilliant. Let the games begin was the term that Shane kind of reiterated, and Steph said there's only one game in this business and I'm married to him. Bang! She gives him this vicious slap. And then she kind of goes like this as if to say, go on, slap me back. Dare you, slap me back. And Shane just gives her a kiss. and she walks off, and as she walks off, fantastic moment as she comes down the stairs. She has a little wobble on the stairs, everyone sees it. It's kind of a perfect ending, you know. Shane's had his slap, and Steph's had her moment. Shane has had a little bit of a moment as well because Steph's embarrassed herself. Steph leaves, and Raw closes out that way. Brilliant. Enjoyed it. It's set up a lot. They've tried a few different things like the Wyatt compound. I think that there was a bomb dropped in the sense of there'll be GMs for Raw and SmackDown. Really does set up next week. And then also WWE Championship match next week. So you cannot miss Raw. You certainly cannot miss SmackDown. I will do a draft video. The only other thing to mention in regards to the draft is you can go to WWE.com. I think it's /draft, but if you go there, you'll be able to find it. And you can make your own draft. That's something that they've put on the website, which I thought was really cool and just worth mentioning. I think I might give that a go myself. But I'll do a draft video anyway, once I've had a look at that. Thanks a lot for watching. Really do appreciate it. Again, you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Wrestling Days UK. Drop in the comments or over there your thoughts on this week's Raw. Obviously, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, really would appreciate it if you did. And hopefully, I'll see you again next time, because we are literally a week away from one of the most important shows in WWE history, the 2016 draft. The brand split changes everything. So join me for that. Cool guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.